So I talk a lot on my channel about knives like Spyderco's, Benchmade, Chris Reeve knives, knives that are $200, $300, $400, $500, $900, and I understand that that's not accessible for everybody. They either don't want to or are unable to spend that much money on a pocket knife, and I just wanted to go over an option for something that is a little more accessible to more people, but is still a very solid option. So today we're looking at some offerings from Flissa Knives. They're a knife brand that you can just purchase on Amazon, and these three that I'm looking at here you can get from I think anywhere between 10 or 15 to $30. I think the most expensive one here is around 25, 30 bucks, and these are all very solid knives. I was genuinely impressed by these. Now I'm not posting affiliate links for these or anything like that. I'm not selling these. I don't get any kickback if you buy them. I just want to talk about some actual cool knives that are at a very good price. And cheap price doesn't always mean poorly made. So we'll go ahead and start with this guy here. So this is their flipper. I think it's the FL2450, and this is in 14C28N steel. Now I did sharpen this first because that gives me a good gauge on how the steel is treated. I can tell if the steel is overly soft or if it has a poor heat treat by the way I can form and remove the burr and how keen of an edge it can get. With some of the very cheap softer steels, I can't get quite a hair-popping edge on them, but this one actually took an edge very, very nicely. Let's take a look and see. I've got some crumpled magazine paper here, which is one of the more difficult things to cut easily when it's old and crumpled like this, and it just goes through like it's nothing. This knife is extremely sharp. And one of the things I was pretty impressed with these as well is their edge angles. They were all right around 19.5 degrees, all the same. And the thickness behind the edge on these is pretty good for EDC knives as well. I think this one comes in right around 19 thousandths behind the edge. So we'll go ahead and list out some specs while we're at it. It's a 3.27 inch blade and 7.62 inches overall. And this is a pretty hefty knife. It comes in at 4.4 ounces. We've got full steel liners, and it's got this kind of reverse bolster style. We've got some steel down here and micarta on top. So that makes it a little back heavy and pretty hefty, but it's a very thicker knife. It feels very solid. It feels like a hard-working knife. But getting back into the cutting geometry. So let's take a look, and we'll cut some thick leather here. And that geometry just makes it get through this material very, very easily. Like it's not even there. Didn't even have to... We've got some sizzle rope here. And I didn't even have to pull it. It just went straight through. A bit of cardboard action for this guy. This is some very thick, sturdy cardboard, and it is an extremely good cut. I mean, I'm impressed. This is better than some of the much more expensive knives that I've tried. 100% solid lockup on this guy. Now, we've talked about the good, and I want to talk about the bad. I think this knife is a little too heavy for what it is, for its size. For a smaller knife, for a 3.5 inch blade, or 3.25 inch blade, just about, they could have skeletonized the liners a little bit. I'm not sure if this steel bolster was the best idea, but it is a little too big and heavy for a smaller knife. It's pretty thick there. Also, this flipper tab is pretty sharp. It's not the most finger-friendly flipper tab, but that being said, the detent is really good on it. Very impressed by the action on this one. You can't fail it. Very snappy detent, but almost too much because that flipper tab there is not forgiving. And the pocket clip could have been done a little bit better. There's no insetting on it or the screws, so you do have a lot of material sticking up there on that side of the pocket clip. It's got this weird curve to it, but that doesn't affect the performance too much. We've got pretty good ergos, but it's very slick up here at the top. Could have used a little bit of jimping or something there for that, but otherwise it's a pretty good blade shape. Here it comes up to a very fine tip there. Really good knife. And I think this one's around 17 or 18 bucks. Like if you're wanting something in that range for a good knife, definitely worth picking up. Moving over to, we've got the FL2400. This one is in 8CR 13 MOV, so it's got similar edge retention to 14C28N, just a little bit less corrosion resistance and a good bit less toughness. So this is the most budget of the budget steels here. But now this knife is pretty unique for a really small, slim EDC knife. It comes in at right around 2 ounces, 2.08. We've got some G10 liners here. And it's got this folded over steel construction. So there's no standoffs in the back. It's just this one folded over piece of steel. It's an integral, if you want to technically call it that. It is an integral. And we've got this single thumb stud for deployment here. And it is exceptionally snappy. I mean, really good action for, I think this one is around 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks, something like that. I mean, very happy with this knife for the price. The pocket clip is pretty neat on this one too. So you can just pinch this and pull it right out and reverse it that way. Interesting. I haven't really seen that anywhere else. And if you want to just rock it without the clip, it's really easy to remove and put back on if you want to. So if you want to you can slip this down into like a pen pocket or something like that, and you get an extremely lightweight, slim, low profile carry. This is a very thin knife overall too, and it's got excellent cutting geometry as well. This one comes down to about 12.5 thousandths behind the edge, and that will make for some excellent slicing. Also around 19 or 20 degree edge angle, but it just flies through material. I mean, it's was definitely designed with cutting in mind. Very nice. And we'll go ahead and cut a little bit of paper with this one as well. So sharpening this 8CR. It's 8CR. It's the pretty bottom of the line budget steel, but it did take a very nice edge. It is a perfectly fine user steel. And we can see we're still getting through that paper okay. Those crumples get the edge caught up on it sometimes. Cut a little bit of rope with it here. Very good. This stuff's a little more tough to get through. Let's see how we do. Very nice. Very easy. All right, let's clean up a little bit and go to one of their most interesting knives, and a knife I'd been eyeballing for a little bit because I was really curious about how it worked. Oh, and this clip, by the way, I really torque out on it without squeezing those, and that's not going anywhere. Like, it's solid in there. You'd rip the G10 out before anything happened with that clip, and I don't think any force is going to be put in that direction enough to do that. If something happened to where that much force was being put on the clip, that's going to be the least of your worries. So really great action on this one. Nice functional jimping, super lightweight, interesting construction, real snappy. Awesome knife for the money there. And now, the most interesting knife that I have seen from them, and this is their button lock knife, the FL2490, and it's in D2 steel. So when I sharpen this one, they say it's hardened to 60 to 62, and I would say that it is higher on that range, just given the feedback that I was getting from the stones when I was sharpening it. You can kind of tell with the harder steel, the way the diamond stones will kind of skate across it. And I was able to get a very nice sticky hair popping edge on this, and that is a good sign of a quality steel. Of course, that doesn't tell the whole story. We'll have to look and see how it holds it. So this knife is a 3.1 inch blade, 7.4 inch overall, and it's not a lightweight knife. It's 3.4 ounces, still a good bit lighter than this guy. And this comes down to 18.5 thousandths behind the edge. So that gives you a really good edge stability, but you still get that better cutting action with that less material behind the edge. And again, this is the factory edge on this was right around 19.5 degrees. So this is a button lock, pivot button lock knife, but it actuates a liner. Now I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with this locking mechanism. I wasn't familiar with it before I saw this knife and gave it a try. I'm not sure if it's something that's unique to this knife or if it's a design seen elsewhere. But what happens when you push in on that pivot it moves that liner out of the way, so you can kind of see that action. There's a little piece in here that is a lever that comes this way and then back, and then when you depress this, it pulls it back this way, so you pulls that liner out of the way, and we can see that the stop pin for that is in the it is affixed to the tang of the blade itself, so there's no stop pin in there. There's no stop pin affixed to the scales, it's affixed to the knife. And it's got really good action on this one. So we've got a flipper, and we've got this little nub here for like a front or top flipper. Now, out of the box, the detent on this was a little too strong to have a real comfortable front flip with this. If you don't like front flippers, if you're already not a fan of front flippers, you're not going to like this thing. I mean, it'll punish you. It'll put a hurting on your thumb trying to get this if you're not used to doing front flipping. But it has broken in some since I've gotten it, and it is a good bit more comfortable. So I can do it pretty consistently now. But when I first got it, the detent was a little too crisp, and I was having a little bit of trouble with it. Same thing with the back flipper. You don't have a lot of real estate to catch with that. You almost want to treat it like a button, just push it down this way, and you just depress that button, and you can get it right out. Or you can just use the pivot and almost treat it like a gravity knife. You can just depress the pivot and it'll come right out. Really good action on this. I'm pretty impressed by this one. For a $30 knife, the quality of the steel, the unique locking mechanism, and you can even get your finger here on the lower end of the blade and flip it out that way. Rock solid lockup on this one. Really good action. We do have skeletonized liners. We've got this interesting aluminum backspacer here that also acts as a lanyard hole. We've got an inset pocket clip with these sunk in screws, so it's perfectly smooth on the inside of that, and it is reversible. And let's take a look at some of the cutting action with this guy. So this one sharpened up really well, nice and thin behind the edge, can get through that leather very easily. We'll show that edge quality on some of this paper, and you can just hear how easily that gets through it. No rough cuts on this one at all. Do a little bit of rope, and I'm just going to push straight. I'm not going to slide at all, and it'll just pull right through that. And this is some good like marine cord rope. So if I actually pull to the side like it's nothing, running out of room with the rope, should have got a longer piece, but something tells me I'm not going to need too much. Let's see if I can just do a straight pull through. Oh yeah. Yeah, very nice cutting geometry. Took a very keen edge. And it feels like it's holding on to it pretty good too. So if you're looking for a good, inexpensive gift for somebody, or if it's around the holidays, you want to get a good stocking stuffer or something like that, or looking for a very budget-friendly knife for yourself, I think Flissa is a great option. I was genuinely impressed by the quality of these knives, especially given their price. I mean, there was no major like quality control flaws. You know, it's got their quirks that they have that budget blades do. Like little things like with the weight and the action needing breaking in, you know, you got some things aren't always perfectly comfortable, but like these were put together with cutting in mind. Like they're good performing knives, good performing EDCs. I would definitely suggest these if somebody's looking for something in that price range. I would highly recommend it. But anyway, thank you for watching.